Are you a cat lover who loves the idea of owning your own cat cafe? Then this is the podcast for you. Join me, Angeli Rodriguez, owner of the Woody Whisker Cat Cafe and author of the book Drinks and Whiskers, as I walk you through my tips and tricks to help you open a successful cat cafe. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Drinks and Whiskers podcast, the place to be to get the inside scoop on what it's like to open and run a successful cat cafe. I'm your host, Angeli Rodriguez, and I'm so excited to introduce today's guest on the podcast, Mario Arbore. Mario is the founder of Square Paws, a company that specializes in creating beautiful cat trees for both private cat owners and cat cafes all over the US. Mario is an architect by trade, and it is this skill that helps him perfect his designs. As a graduate of Syracuse University, Mario has over 30 years of experience in architecture, both commercial and residential. His interest in various building typologies and iconic everyday elements, coupled with a love for art and color, sparks his imagination for the beautiful towers he creates for his clients. And he has made some beautiful creations for the Woody Whisker, and we're so excited to have him here today. Welcome to the show, Mario.
Thank you, Angeli. Great to be here. It's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So I've always been so curious. How did you get started in creating your beautiful cat towers?
Well, thank you for that great introduction. It was really kind. I started in 2014, and I had some downtime between projects.
Mhm.
And a relative of mine who had two cats of her own, and at the time, I had one cat. No, I think I had two. I had just adopted a second. And this relative of mine had some, I said, well, I don't know what to do with my free time. She said, why don't you build cat houses? And that's how it started. So I just really started working out of my garage and had started to think, what would I want to say or do or replicate? I see you have a guest on your
I
table there.
do. This is Sephora. She's saying hello.
Hi, Sephora. So yeah, that's how I started. I said to myself, well, there had been a lot of like architect design dog houses, cat, houses as well that had been sponsored by the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, but they were
Okay.
always very, very sleek looking, very uncomfortable, sort of
Mm-hmm.
statement design kinds of things. And for me, it was like, well, what would I want to have in my house? I wanted something iconic. So I started out with a lighthouse because I thought cats love to be up high. They love to sleep where they feel dominant.
Yes.
So I'll do like a vertical structure, right? Like I'll kind of replicate um, a lighthouse. And I saw some one I think that was in Nova Scotia that I sort of replicated. That was my, sort of precedent for that first one. And it just snowballed after that. After that, it was like, hey, why
Yeah.
don't I do nautical themes? Let me do lifeguard chair, lifeguard stand. The aunt who had recommended it, she was a big, still is a big giraffe
Mm-hmm.
aficionado. And so I built a giraffe for her home and her cats.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
yeah, so
That's
just kind of
great.
snowballed after that.
And do you still have your original tower, your lighthouse?
I do. It's still
Yeah.
holding up pretty well 10 years later.
Wow, 10
Yeah.
years. And I will attest, we have Woody Whisker Cat Cafe has been open for 4 years, and Mario's um, towers and creations are amazing. They're beautiful and they have withstood the test of time for sure. So,
Love to hear them.
yes, yes. What do you find? What made you decide to use to name your business Square Paws?
Well, I had a practice in New York before I moved to Florida
Mhm.
for about 12 years or so. Um, and, with New York, I was doing a lot of private residential work for very wealthy clients. And the big thing with real estate and clients in New York is square footage, right? Square feet. How many square
Oh,
feet is your condo? How many square feet is the apartment? How many square feet is your home? So I thought, well, I'm an architect. I should name my company Square Paws, right? Because
I love
for two
it.
reasons, right? One is like, cats really don't care about real estate in a sense. I mean, they
They're
do,
gonna
right?
make
They
room,
care about
right?
their
Yeah.
domain, right? They care about their domain, but not so much about the value of it in the sense of monetary kind of stuff. But also, it's a little tongue in cheek because cats love, I mean, most animals love to curl up, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so many cat towers I noticed when I first started were always had sort of a round element at the
Hmm.
top because cats love those circular sort of little nooks to kind of, cozy up in. And I thought, well, square is completely opposite of what, so it's very like very
Yeah.
ironic in a lot of ways,
It
right?
sure
So
is. It sure is.
yeah,
Yeah. Cats are anything
yeah,
but square.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so what's the most exciting thing that you find about Square Paws? Like what do you find most exciting about your business?
Um, I think that everything we approach is new. It's
Hmm.
never the same thing. And it's a terrible business model. Right?
Oh,
When I first started this, everyone was like, you have to do scale, you have to have production and mass production and da 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 da, like all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And, you know, for me, it's like, well, this is really like an artistic endeavor. This is not I really tried to sort of, and now we have some smaller things that are getting mass produced,
Hmm.
but that's really not where it's at for me. Like
Hmm.
every cat is unique, every home is unique, every human is unique in so many ways. I mean, yes, we're all very much alike. We are all one sort of thing. In a Zen sort of concept, but
Sure.
like we make different choices.
Hmm.
Like your home, you've got divided light French doors to your office. You've got like a cream colored, wall scheme with some black furniture to sort of stand out. Like you make choices on certain things, and I think that that's a reflection on personality and um, kind of your essence. So for me, the most exciting thing is to to approach things newly, right? To really find out in the same way I would with my architectural clients, which is, what are their goals? What are their aims? What are they looking to achieve with this project? So um, we approach our work in the same way. And sometimes it's not like that clear cut, right? Like
Hmm.
it's sort of a process of finding out, exploration to sort of say, well, okay, I know I want a cat tower, or if it's a cat cafe, I know I want the experience to be like this, right? Like
Hmm.
with Witty Whisker, you had a very clear vision of being eclectic, right?
Right.
Like you had a lot of sort of different things that really appealed to you, sort of like Arabic tea shop sort of stuff, while
Yeah.
also, sources from Puerto Rico,
Yes.
from Europe, and then of course like the kind of utilitarian cat wheel and cat shelves, and so like we wanted to cater to that, and you brought what it was that worked for you that we could say, okay, well, what about old San Juan, right? Like
Yes.
those
Yes.
buildings are very classic, right?
Yes.
And the sort of graffiti that we worked off of that, because that appealed to us artistically, right?
Oh
The
yeah.
color, the
Yeah,
bright
I gave
color,
you guys
the
like
variation of
yeah,
balcony.
it was just a very collaborative effort, right? In the sense that I
Exactly.
said
Yeah.
I threw a couple of ideas. I was like, well, what if we did a teapot? And then we talked about it and you
Right.
gave us a great feedback and said teapot, it's not really going to work the way at least the teapot that you like isn't going to work. What if you have any other ideas? And then we went from there and you just took my very basic ideas and just expanded it and made it so beautiful to this day. Like that's what everybody comments on when they come in to the cafe is
I
like, oh
love
my
hearing
god, look
that.
at those towers.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
nothing better than a happy client, right? I
Oh
mean,
definitely, yes.
right, for you as a cat cafe, you want your cats to be happy, you want your clients to be happy, you want your staff to be happy.
Hmm.
Because I mean, what's the alternative is no good.
No,
Right?
no, you want, yeah, you don't want ugly cat towers in your cat cafe.
Exactly.
And if I could just interject a story, the way I found out about you guys, I was visiting a cat cafe in Denver, the Denver Cat Company. I was on vacation and I was like, oh, let's take this opportunity to look at a cat cafe and get some inspiration. And so I went there and they had this beautiful gingerbread house. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember your design. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
probably do,
yeah.
but it was the most beautiful gingerbread house made out of like this beautiful, like, very light colored wood. And it just was so precious and beautiful. It had a little cat sitting inside of it. And I was like, I have got to find out where they got this from. And you put these beautiful, tell me the correct word, but it's like this little metal bracket that has like your logo imprinted on it. And it says Square Paws. And I was like, I have got to figure out who these people are. So
Yeah, that was
um
so much fun. That
yeah,
was
it's
great
beautiful.
because we did little divots in the roof that
Yes.
can hold treats, right?
Oh, I
Um,
didn't even notice that. They probably already
yeah,
been eaten by them.
it's something most
It's
people aren't
just so
aware
much
of.
detail. Yeah.
But the cats actually can eat the treats right off the roof
Oh,
because that's
that's
like,
amazing.
gumdrops on a gingerbread house.
Oh, that's
So
so that see, that's so creative. Do you still have those on available on your website?
we do. We have a few left. We have
Uh-huh.
some DIY versions left. Like we did,
Oh,
we'll do like small batch items here and there. Like we'll do 5, 10 at a time when we have some free time. But
nice.
so yeah, we have those on our website for sure for this
That's
year.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So if anybody's interested, they can go to squarepaws.com and look up the gingerbread house. It's beautiful. What's the most important lesson you have learned about in starting your own business? Like, what's your most thing that you've gotten most out of?
Um, I think learning to be flexible, being focused,
Hmm
but learning to be flexible because you don't always know, right? Like
Right.
for me, it was a complete pivot to go from an architecture practice in New York where I had people, other architects working underneath me, to, you know, doing a cat tower business.
Yeah.
Um, and I really didn't know where it would lead. Um, and again, there were a lot of people whispering in my ear, this is what you need to do. Just take that one design, mass produce it, blah, blah, blah. And, again, kind of listening to your own inner voice, I think is really for me, because to do the same thing over and over, yeah, I mean, that can be lucrative. That can be great for a lot of people, but, is it really nourishing my soul? Is it really nourishing to who I am and kind of what my purpose is this lifetime? Like that I
I love that.
really see myself as an artistic creator. And if I keep following that, I find doors just continue to open up. So
Yeah, yeah. I one of my favorite stories about you is that you actually helped with the creation. Is it the New York Humane Society? Did you help design one of their cat rooms there?
we did a couple of things up in New York. Probably you're probably
Hmm
thinking of the North Shore Animal League
That's what it was.
in
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Yeah, we got that was just like such a great thing, like such good luck that we had that, because we would sort of do our social media year after year, and we never really, I mean, it's sort of the water we swim in, right? Like we all have to
Mm.
have the likes and the follows and the subscriptions and all that kind of stuff, but it's sort of a beauty contest that I really don't care whether I win or not. So like, it's not why we do it. Like I don't I love to have followers. I'd love to, have more people see what we do and kind of be either educated or inspired by it. But, there was someone in New Jersey who had followed us on Instagram and she was friends with Beth Stern,
hmm
Howard Stern's wife, and they're huge animal advocates and they foster tons, I mean, thousands of cats through their own home. And North Shore Animal League in Port Washington, New York, was is their like charity, right? So they were essentially like underwriting an extension of the main adoption facility to house only cats.
hmm
Because previously North Shore, I had adopted a dog many years ago because I lived on Long Island. I grew up on Long Island.
hmm
And it was a pretty like the cat space was just cages in a dark room.
Yeah.
And
Poor
Beth and
cats.
Howard had this thing of like, free roaming cat rooms, state of the art, care facility upstairs for the cats only, um, and really complementing the existing campus of North Shore. So yeah, Beth was told about us and learned about us and said, she called me and, Benedito, my carpenter,
Yes. Yes.
I had this voicemail and I'm listening to it like, oh my God, it's Beth Stern. I'm like hitting him like, oh my God, like this is amazing, right? And she called and she's like, we have a room we want to dedicate to Billy Joel because he donated one of his Madison Square Garden concert proceeds to this project.
Wow.
And so we started right away. The building was almost done. And we had just like 3 months to like design, get approval, and build and install, the entire room. And while we were doing it, they're like the this woman Joanne at North Shore, who was my contact, she said, we have 2 rooms that we now want to dedicate to Billy Joel.
Oh,
Can you come
wow.
up with a second design? Like, sure. So we worked our tails off. Like we worked weekends, to get it done. And it was fun. We made one like the Piano Man room
Yes.
with like a piano cat.
Yes. And
And
it's beautiful. Yes.
thank you. And then the other room was the New York State of Mind room. So we took those 2 songs that were very, very iconic songs from Billy Joel.
Right.
And they invited me up to the ribbon cutting, which was really only like board members and
Mm-hmm.
private, kind of event.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go up there expecting anyone to be there because they had no idea like whether Beth and Howard would make it, whether Rachel Ray and her husband John would make it, whether
Mm-hmm.
Billy Joel would be there. Because Rachel Ray has a huge, beautiful room as well that she sponsored. And so I get there and like the construction manager guy is like, looked like a nervous wreck. I walk in, he's like, Mario, he says, everyone's coming. I said, what do you mean everyone's coming? He's like, everyone's coming. So like, I was there and I thought, okay, no big deal. And then this woman, Joanne, said, she called me out of the crowd and she said, I'd like you to present your rooms to Billy Joel
Oh my goodness.
and
Just
Beth
out
and
of the
Howard
blue.
and John
Yeah.
and Rachel. And I was like, very much on the spot, but I was just so happy to explain it because,
Of
it was
course.
crystal clear. It wasn't like, and for years, like as architects, we present to clients, when it's a big
Yes.
project, you have all kinds of models and 3D, walkthroughs and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't really, out of my league to sort of present, but it was just such an honor,
Right.
to do that.
That's so
And
amazing. Yeah. I
it
love
was
that
great.
story. I love that
Yeah, it
story.
was so great.
And
Yeah.
and so
Well,
what
at one point, I gave
yeah.
Billy Joel a kitten. I'm sorry to go on because
Oh no,
this was
please do.
like just a
Yeah.
moment. So like they were like, oh, let's take a group picture. So he had a kitten to like walk around the opening with.
Yeah.
And he's a dog guy. He has, I think, pugs, someone told me. But he's got this kitten. And after like they took this photo, we're like moving on to the next room. And he did the Marlon Brando Godfather impersonation to me.
I love it.
He's like, oh, I was like, oh, only I heard that. Like, that's just such a moment. I was
That's
just
such
like,
a
oh my God,
moment.
I'm in heaven.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Can you tell
Yeah,
us really quickly a little bit about like what the process is for like if you're a cat cafe owner, like of how to reach you and like what it would take to get like one of your creations into their cat cafes?
sure. Go to squarepaws.com. It's all one
Hmm.
word, PAWS. Or they can email me, mario@squarepaws.com. But yeah, I'd say for people to contact us earlier on in the process,
Hmm.
with Caddyshack Cafe down in Fort Myers,
Hmm.
um, they were going through the process with their architect, and I pointed certain things out when I looked at the plan, and they ended up firing the first architect, hiring someone else,
Oh wow.
based on things that I noticed about like bathroom counts and all that sort of stuff, but also like designing for the space, right? Like I gave them
Ah,
pointers on what they could do with the cat room versus the cafe room, because right, cat cafes for health department reasons, you have to have that sort of airlock between for
yes,
cleanliness of the cafe and cat
correct.
space. So so there's that. There's also like the conceptual aspect of it, which is what is it, what are the goals of the cat cafe? Is there a theme? Is there
Hmm.
something we can play off of? And are there things in terms of budget where it's like we could do something that maybe isn't as elaborate,
Hmm.
as something, you know, like multiple things, maybe it's just one standout thing, but we can give sort of feedback of like, okay, this is the standout item, and you can purchase these other off the shelf items from another company to
Hmm.
augment and kind of fill out the space. And complete the vision of the room.
Right.
So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And of course,
Well,
getting advice from you, right? I mean,
oh,
you've
thank
got
you.
a book written,
Yes, yeah,
right?
they can certainly
Run a successful cat cafe.
oh, thank you. That is so sweet. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, so any other advice that you have for future cat cafe owners?
Um, I think speaking with other cat cafe owners is key.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we did some things for Salita Jackson, who had the Cat Cafe South Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and it was sort of a tough location for her, and she ended up closing,
Oh,
you know, unfortunately. Actually, both cat cafes closed in Miami.
oh,
Um, but she really tried to stick it out, and it was tough because of the location.
yeah.
So I think it's very important to get other cat cafe owners' feedback,
Mm-hmm.
right, before getting into it. And I know that um, Andrew at Caddy Shack has pointed out to people, like, you may love cats, but owning a cat cafe may not be the right way for you to be of service to felines, right? Like
Right.
you could volunteer at a shelter, or you could foster. There are other things. Owning a
Correct.
business is owning a business,
Exactly.
right?
And that's what
And
I'm trying to tell people. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. And trying to
because a
help
cat
people.
cafe too it's a food industry, right? It's a food service industry.
Most of them are. Most of them are. There
Yeah.
are some of them that don't really focus too much on that, but then you can't really call yourself a cat cafe if you don't have, you're right, the food and the beverages. But it's the idea of merging cats with something else to kind of draw your clientele in. So
Yeah, like
yeah.
there's in Chicago, there's the Cat Cade. Do you know the Cat Cade?
Yes, I follow them. They're amazing. Oh my gosh, I
They're
love their
great.
social media. He is
Yeah, they're
brilliant.
so great.
He is truly brilliant.
Yeah, they both
Oh,
are. They're amazing. But they're not a cafe per se.
right.
Um,
They're an arcade and cats,
they're an
right?
arcade, which is
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. And sorry for the background noise.
I
My
can't.
part
No, it's okay. I can't hear anything.
I told him to keep quiet when he came in, but he obviously didn't see the note.
That's okay.
Um, anyway, so yeah, I think it's important to know. But the Catcade is a place that's not a cafe. They were much more about, like, this is, we're going to do something different and fun. And I
Hmm.
think that that's important to know too, is getting into a space that's conducive to a cat location, because a lot of
Yes.
landlords may not be okay with it. They think it's going to be full of urine and stinky and,
Right. Right.
like a halfway house for cats. And I think in Chicago, there was another cat cafe where there was like a building person,
Hmm.
sort of like a building inspector, that wouldn't allow food service
Oh,
to one
really?
of the cat cafes, that they had to tell people, yeah, you can come in, but you're going to have to order from, Uber Eats or something like that if
Yeah.
you want to sit here with the cats with food. So, it's important
Yeah.
to know your location.
Definitely. That is such great advice. So, all right. Well, that is all the time that we have. So, we've
Thank you.
learned so much about Square Paws and getting a beautiful cat tower in your cat cafe space, and also about choosing the right location. So, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
Drinks and
you,
Whiskers
Angeli. This was
podcast.
such a pleasure. And
All
I hope
right. And
people come visit and see you in Witty Whisker.
that would be
It's a great
fantastic. I would love
place.
it if people would come visit me too and see all of the beautiful creations that you made for us at
Thank
Purrto
you.
for us. So, thank you. All right. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much,
Great to
everybody.
see you today.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Drinks and Whiskers podcast. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to like this episode, subscribe, and leave an honest review. If you want more information, you can purchase the Drinks and Whiskers book right now on Amazon.com, or you can reach me at angeli@wittywhisker.com. Now it's time to get out there and start your cat cafe dream. How will you warm hearts with a drink and a whisker?